Good evening, everybody. This is Cinnamon Noir.
And this is the Ramen Shaman.
Welcome back to V. In the grand trilogy of episodes for this short Let's Play, this would be like The Empire Strikes Back. You know, a bit of a darker section. We're going to be rescuing two guys. Well, actually, a guy and a girl in this episode. So yeah, here's Vermilion. He's here to warn us that the way ahead of here looks a little dangerous. But of course, we're Captain Viridian. We laugh in the face of danger.
Well, I mean, kind of all of the ways here look a little dangerous on account of the spikes.
That is true. This is curious. So yeah, these are warp zones. When you go into these rooms, they'll send you to a room completely across the world. Technically, this is not a world. This whole area we're in is a dimensional rift. You'll notice at the top it says Dimension VVVVV. Which is funny to me because it suggests that V in their language is like what X is for us. If for something to be unknown, they would put just a bunch of V's next to it. It's kind of an interesting idea. That may not be what Terry Kavanagh was going for, but it's what it looks like to me.
It makes me think of the rival from Pokemon Gold Silver.
Wasn't he just called Silver?
Well, the thing is, his
or was he
name
called
is
question marks?
Yeah, listed as like question marks.
Yeah, right.
My cousin actually thought it was a test, and so put his name as like a bunch of question marks.
Oh, that's funny. When people were asked what he was, yeah. Anyway, have you noticed something weird? We're going through some of these rooms, and it looks like we're just landing in the same room again. But if you look at the map, if you look at the map, we're not actually doing that. It's just that there are a bunch of rooms in a row that look exactly the same.
And there's no way that's unintentional.
Oh, of course it's intentional. It's just weird, because the way this game is designed, the room doesn't shift at all when you enter it, which means that it looks like you're staying in the same room. Yeah. It actually tricked me when I played through this. I assumed that there was some trickery going on. Partly because in other parts of the game, that does happen. But we'll see that a little later on. Here's a teleporter, thank goodness. We don't need to go through that labyrinth ever again. Oh, and what do you know? It turns out, this is where the game starts pulling that trick. So yeah, this dungeon, which has like the best song in the soundtrack, I have to say, is a very curious one. In every single one of these rooms, when we exit a room from one angle, we'll go out the other until we find the real exit. So in this case, for instance, the real exit's in the top. And until we go out that way, we'll just keep entering the room through various angles. A very clever mechanic, actually. I like this room. It's called As You Like It, and the reason is because you can technically go through this in either one of two directions. You can go up or down.
Oh.
Basically, whichever you choose. They're about equally complicated.
I was going to guess it had something to do with the somewhat unmemorable Shakespeare play.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't think that either Terry Kavanagh or Bennett Foddy are big fans of Shakespeare, though. Although, there might be something like that later on. Anyway, this is a strange room, so we need to get to the lower left-hand corner in order to enter from the lower right-hand corner, and then we can actually leave. I'm just surfing this wave a little bit because I like this. And on to the next room. This is a little bit annoying, actually, these guys. It's kind of difficult to avoid dying a single time here. Eventually, you'll probably work out the timing. The fact that they completely mirror each other makes it a little complicated, because even if you get past one, you gotta be moving very quickly to not get hit by the other one.
Yeah, that is...
This room's a little complicated, too. Luckily for me, I got through that in the first try, that first part with the checkpoint. Normally, it takes me quite a while to get the rhythm of that room. So yeah, apparently all these things we're running into are security measures. We're gonna find out a little later that this whole place is like a laboratory that was used by a different race of aliens. So yeah, I guess these were security measures to keep people from getting into the lab. So, curious thing about Captain Viridian. Unlike in a lot of games, in many of the rooms, he will fall at a different speed than the projectiles he's going through. In a lot of games, you'd fall the same speed. That one room, I think it's possible you fall at exactly the same speed, but in a lot of the other ones, you don't, and you have to make use of that.
I get the impression that he was falling at a different speed.
Okay. Anyway, have you seen that little trinket in the top right-hand corner? So there's an easy way out of this room. You can just fall down the middle. In order to get that trinket, however, you need to take advantage of the really strange space in here. So you can tell that these little chomping monsters are going off the right-hand side of the screen. But as far as the game is concerned, they are actually gone, like disappeared, when they haven't gotten to the other side of the screen again. So you have to take advantage of the point when they are in that space in between to use that time to go to the other side of the screen and jump back down again. It's really complicated and it requires excellent timing. You may have noticed there that last time that I died, it was because I went too soon, and the little chomping monster was not yet off screen. That time I made it through that one, but then jumped onto the other one before it had left the screen. Yeah, that time, when you get to the top left corner, but if you're in between those two chompers, there's no way to win, because you have to go to the left.
Oh.
So yeah, the whole thing demands more expertise than I can actually muster, so I do end up giving up on this.
And straight on to the choppers.
Nope, not yet. I have to be a sucker for punishment just a little bit more.
I was actually quoting Galaxy Quest.
See, there I was right at it. If I had waited just a second, I could have made it through. That was disappointing.
Chompy, crushy things.
Yeah, I've never actually seen Galaxy Quest. But I wasn't a fan of Star Trek, so I don't think I'd appreciate it. I'm also not really a fan of Tim Allen. Anyway, this is a weird kind of thing. You gotta make sure that you... This whole time I've been going that way, but really you can just flip at the beginning, and that's a much more sensible position. I do not know why this room is called To the Batcave. It has nothing to do with that. So in this room, we need to flip to the left-hand side and then go all the way back to the right by looping around. You gotta take advantage of that weird... I don't know if this is non-Euclidean geometry or what.
I don't think it's non-Euclidean.
Oh, I love this room's name, by the way. Twisty Little Passages could easily be a reference to the Infocom text adventure games, where in one of them it says, "You are in a maze of twisty little passages, all alike." Very annoying because in those rooms, they're all given an identical description in the maze. They all say, "You are in a maze of twisty little passages, all alike." So they really are all alike because you can't tell the difference between them.
Oh, jeez. That's horrible.
You have to work out the exact sequence of what you're supposed to do in order to get out of the maze. There's a lot of note-taking in those old text adventures. I notice. Anyway, this room can be a little bit annoying, mostly because those vertical hearts fall so quickly. Also because in that last stretch, even if you make it to there, those are spikes that the hearts are falling through. So you've got to be very careful. Yeah, you can't just walk on there, you actually need to flip back and forth. It is flipping annoying. I also get psyched out by that one heart falling and just totally flip at the wrong time. That gets really annoying. It's another one of these heart rooms, only in this one the hearts are broken. I don't know if that's symbolic of anything. If this were Braid, it would totally be symbolic, but I don't think it is. Unlike Terry Kavanagh, Jonathan Blow has made a whopping 2 games in his life in the last decade, so that's really something, I think. Anyway, there I finally managed to make it through. And yeah, here is our friend... What is his name? I wish I remembered. Verdigris, that's his name. Yeah, this is the engineer.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, Verdigris is really unhappy. And the other thing is that unlike us, he cannot flip, which makes this a little difficult.
How does he move? Does he just follow you?
Yes, all of the other guys, when they are trying to follow you around, they will follow you. Only now here he's stuck in limbo because I had to dance a little bit before I left. I can't help it, these songs are just so infectiously funky.
That makes me think of, you know, Killer 7 in the Vinculum Gates?
Yes.
How you could, like, have the characters sort of dance.
Who doesn't dance to Ravon, I mean, really?
Oh, speaking of, I think I'm getting that for PC.
Oh, cool. Anyway, welcome to the most annoying part of the game. So, you need to lead Verdigris to the end. So, you guys work out a system where he will follow you when you are standing on the ground, but when you flip and go on the ceiling, he'll stay put. So basically, this is an escort mission where we need to lead him around, and he is like really lemming level stupid. So he will run right into obstacles. You need to be careful not to lead him into them. Stop for a little small talk here, you know, small talk's important. One thing I love about this game is that the 6 crew members are presented as, like, real-life co-workers, so they engage in, like, little bits of socializing in order to socializing, in order to keep each other happy, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they're very friendly to each other, which is kind of cool, you know? They're very nice. This whole game is just very nice. It's like almost Care Bears level sweet. Yeah, but not the design of the game. Oh, I love this.
When it's juxtaposed with the like the murderous,
the spiky death. Yeah, I know. It is a little creepy. Anyway, I love how it said "stay close to each other," and in that last screen, I was literally superimposed on Verdigris. It's like we became the same thing. So yeah, this room is fairly simple. You need to just briefly land so that he'll, you know, rush forward onto the platform and go. This one's a little more complicated.
How?
You need to be far enough to the right that he'll make a big leap, but then here you need to make sure that you don't move too far, because if you move really far, he'll try hard to catch up with you and then run right into the spikes. Because, as mentioned before, he is dumb.
Does the other one say "not as I do"? This is "do as I say."
I think there is one that says "not as I do." And in fact, this is it. So yeah, what this title is referring to is the fact that you need to get over to the bottom right-hand corner in order to use that segment of, you know, floor and ceiling to properly manipulate him over this trap the right way. So you're going to do it upside down. Now he needs to do it right side up. A little bit complicated. And I mess it up. I also like how when Verdigris dies, both he and Viridian, like, frown. Yeah. It's like they sympathetically understand how much pain the other one is going through.
Well, I mean, you just watched your friend, like, horribly murdered.
You think you would get a little jaded to it, though, you know, when it happens so many times.
True.
No, I find this segment immensely frustrating. It's my least favorite part of the game because it's so nerve-wracking to be on these platforms and have to move over them upside down while they're going really close to the spikes and then just go off them at the last moment. The platforming's actually a little more forgiving than it looks, but because it looks unforgiving, I feel like it's going to be unforgiving, and that stresses me out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, I mean, even though it's less difficult than it looks, it is still difficult. You'll see how many times I've been failing. One of the hardest parts is leading Verdigris over this, because you basically have to do the thing, not with your own controls, but with the weird controls of landing to make him move, and then going up to make him stop. Then you have to do it properly yourself now that you've let him across. I have died at that point many times. So yeah, Verdigris is our engineer, and he knows how to fix our ship, which is good, because we're going to need to fix our ship. We'll find out later, there are even more imperative reasons for fixing our ship, which is this dimension is collapsing, and we need to get out of it. Now, I said the last puzzle was my least favorite, but this might actually be my least favorite. Because here we have to lead this rock-stupid guy through all these spikes, and he never goes far enough to, like, avoid them. This is really a bitch, this puzzle. Basically, Viridian has to go to the end of the platform without actually going off. And this part of the end is also very difficult. You need to lead Viridian off of the side without running into the spikes on top, of course, because they gotta make it that extra bit difficult. But also fast enough that Verdigris will follow you before it's low enough that he'll hit the wall and fall down into the spikes.
Oh god, yeah, that's bad.
It's murderous. You'll notice, 2 times now I've gone through here, but Verdigris has been so stupid he's just kept blindly marching forward. Mm-hmm. I guess what annoys me about this part is it's not realistic. The fact that this guy needs your help and some guidance through these levels does not mean that he would keep blindly marching forward to his death. That time we both died at once. It's kind of horrible. And of course, the name of the room is just mocking me. Do try to keep up. Maybe if he would actually stick to me, instead of like 5 feet behind me. I think Verdigris has too highly developed a sense of personal space. He's like, oh no, don't mind me, I'll just back up into this spike. Maybe he feels really awkward because I keep superimposing myself on top of him. It's gotta be a serious faux pas in whatever world these people live in. There we go.
Jeez.
So, here's a room that's a little bit irritating, but not deadly, so... You just gotta lead him around here.
Oh, that's annoying.
It's just a little silly. I actually like this room. Now what I have to do is go back on the other side...
Onto the top.
...and lead him far enough so that he'll fall. It's a good thing he can't flip, because if he did, he'd have the capacity to really annoy me in this room.
Oh, God.
But of course, all these difficulties are based on the fact that he can't flip. If he could, he probably could have gotten out of here by himself.
True.
Here's me testing out my very white sense of rhythm.
I like that he's just sort of although their smiles do come off as a bit like vacuous.
They are, yeah. They're not like serial killer smiles, but they are a little dopey.
Yeah.
The fact that they talk is the one thing that keeps me from thinking of these guys as like simpletons. But really, when you get right down to it, there's something a little bit like Teletubbies about this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're all tiny, but they're in this massive ship, and they have these assigned tasks, even though they don't necessarily seem smart enough to do them. I don't know. I also love how Viridian's upset because we're stuck in another dimension, even though we already knew that. And Violet just sympathetically goes, oh yeah, that's really awful. I feel like Viridian emotionally is kind of like the initiator of stuff in this. Like, he comes up with how everyone should be feeling, and then they just, like, respond.
Aren't these guys named Vermilion?
What?
Vermilion.
This is Vermilion, yeah.
I knew it.
Most of them are named after the color they are. Funnily enough, there are two who are not. Veronica, which was the one I was trying to remember last time, who is purple, and Vitellary, who is yellow. Unless Vitellary has some meaning that I'm not aware of. But I've actually never heard that word before, except in this game, so...
It's just making me remember, Pokemon Red and Blue, with all the... I like that all the town names in that were just, like, fancy, somewhat obscure names for colors.
Yeah, that was really weird. I love Fuchsia.
Palette Town.
Fuchsia City.
Fuchsia City.
I didn't realize this for the longest time, but Fuchsia was actually named after a guy whose last name was Fuchs. He's a German botanist, so it's literally like Fuchsia. In fact, a lot of plant names are that. So Dahlia, which to me just sounds like a pretty name, it's named after a botanist named Dahl.
Oh.
Yeah, and most plants ending in IA are like that. Zinnias are named after someone named Zinn, also German. It's just, that's how it goes.
I guess.
It's easy to forget that many flower species were discovered relatively recently, or were hybridized. So there's reasons why they're named after, scientists from the 19th century. Anyway, we're coming up here on the next dungeon. This one's surprisingly short, actually. But we are, in fact, going to get through another dungeon. So I really like this dungeon's gimmick. Basically, it's just these lines, which whenever you bump into them, they will change your orientation. So, you hit one, it makes you go up, the other one will make you go down, and so on. It's also got a pretty good song. Anyway, this is kind of interesting. So, up here is a trinket. But it's really easy to get to, and not only that, it's also really easy to get. I've already got it. One try. I think I die once in this room, and it's just trying to get out, So it's weird to me that it says it's worth the challenge. Like, obviously. This isn't that much of a challenge. We've already seen trinkets that are way more annoying than this.
I think the tiles in the background seem kind of distracting.
They are distracting, but, not annoyingly so. I mostly blocked them out when I was playing. I can't remember a time when being distracted by them actually kept me from getting through this.
It just seems like I would, sort of reflexively try to use them as platforms.
Really? Yeah, I didn't think of that. Maybe because they're transparent, unlike the objects in the foreground.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, so one of these rooms is called In a Single Bound. I think another one is called Trust Your Instincts. If you just move right directly, like leap off of the first part, you'll be able to get through the first part of this maze very easily.
Safety dance.
Yeah. Oh, free your mind. You can just hold right, see? And if you don't mess up like that, if you actually hold right the entire time, you'll get through. But you have to stop doing that relatively quickly afterwards. See, now you gotta stop.
Jesus, this is some Super Meat Boy shit.
Really? This actually isn't that difficult. You'd be surprised. The key mostly is not immediately trying to do the move, but letting yourself bounce back and forth for a little while until you've figured out what you're supposed to be doing. Basically, it's patience. This gimmick out of all of them, I think, demands patience.
I just thought Super Meat Boy because of the whole vast expanses of danger.
Right. Although, of course, one way in which this is not like Super Meat Boy is that you can't see most of what you're running into.
True.
So fortunately, this game isn't as hard as Super Meat Boy, because if it was, then the severely restricted viewpoint would make it really annoying.
Also better, what's it called?
Music?
Music, yes.
In this game.
Yeah.
Did you really just forget the word music? Wow.
Yep.
I've had some serious brain farts, but nothing that bad as of yet. No,
I'm terrible.
This game's soundtrack is very simple, but, what I don't mean simple. It's short, like the game itself. There's only like 6 or 7 musical tracks, but they're all great. So I appreciate that. Anyway, we can just flip down here. And here's a tantalizing trinket, which in order to get it, we need to go through this whole area. I love Vermilion here. He's just out of nowhere. I don't know how he got here. I guess he can flip like us. But, he says I'm helping, but he doesn't actually help you at all.
You see, it makes me think of the Igors from Terry Pratchett.
Yeah.
Disappearing.
You know, now that I think about it, I think everyone can flip except for Verdigris, because it specifically says in the room where you find him, green men can't jump. Or, sorry, green men can't flip. Which, I don't know, like, it's weird to think that even though this is a Star Trek-like universe, there might be racism. Like, these people are all different colors, but are they happy with that? Are they actually colorblind? Or is there fantasy racism in this world? I have to wonder.
True.
Anyway, if you go off the right-hand side of the screen somehow, like if you manage to get past that little violet thing, there's actually a bonus area with a trinket. But I do not get it here because it's really complicated. Yeah, I like the foosball room. And then this one, which shows like a musical chord with the stuff that you're playing. It's a little complicated. This is definitely
any called sine wave or something like that.
Yeah. Well, you can't be sure. We haven't gone through the whole game yet.
True.
But this is much easier from one direction than it is from the other. So eventually you figure that out. This one's curious. You need to go all the way to the right and then move back in order to be traveling in the right direction when you're in that particular vertical section. Oh. And here it is. This is Veronica. I guess she's more of a deep blue than a purple color. Violet is technically the purple one.
Oh, and she's the only one who isn't grinning? Oh.
Well, they all grin eventually. Most of them are sad when you find them.
Understandably.
Yeah. Veronica in particular is kind of a moody person. She's probably the least, like, happy and friendly of all of them. She's very easily upset. She doesn't get upset with me here, though, just blatantly wasting her time. I like how Viridian's head barely moves here, so it kind of looks like his body's just, like, flipping around. Anyway, some more calisthenics, and then we'll be ready to go. And with that, we are actually very close to done. So there is only one member of the crew that we have not yet rescued. And we're going to be doing that in the next episode. The Return of the Jedi. So see you then, everybody.
See you then, everybody.